Happy Monday, guys. I'm hearing a lot of narrative that maybe this market is overbought. Maybe it's time for a pullback, could be a substantial pullback. Is that true? Not true. This is all speculation. Avoid the noise, right? So the answer is yes and no. And let me explain what I mean by that. First of all, we'll know when there's a breakdown, and that's what this line's for. I'll come back to that in a minute and show you how we'll know when the breakdown occurs. We knew that this was going to happen before it happened, and I'll talk about that in a second. But for now, the S&P 500 continues higher, continues to grind higher, and continues to want higher price. Our projected price move for this was 685, and so we have a ways to go on that. When that happens, I suspect there'll be a slight dip that'll set up another ABC structure to go even higher than that. QQQs is, you could argue, it is overextended, overbought. We had a projected price move of 600, so I wouldn't be surprised if that starts to I don't know, go into some corrective activity for a second and maybe set up the next ABC structure higher. The moral of the story, though, is I think this market still wants much higher prices and a run into the end of the year. I'll show you the stocks are leading in just a second. But back to the point of when we'll know when it rolls over. We knew this was coming before it happened, right? And we'll know again when it's coming before it happens. And it usually happens over a period of months, right? So if you go back here to 24, this is the 20th, so this is December of 24. This was a big downdraft right here. And by the way, I'm looking at the line, but I'm also coming down here and looking at these, right? So these are the volume bars, right? So this was okay. Yeah, we're starting to come off with some volume on the weekly, by the way. This is interesting, right? So then you got over into the next year, months and months later, and we had this bar right here. This was in February. And we said, oh, we have more volume again, right? The following month, boom, we got confirmation we're going lower. At that point, we knew it was going to come down here and retest this low right here. Why? Because one, it's an ABC structure lower, and two, it's a high volume low, right? And it always wants to come back and do that. So we knew it was going to come down and hit this right here. And so we were out of the market. And if I can draw this over here, we were out of the market and we didn't experience any of this downdraft right here, okay? Because ABC structures work and price and volume is everything. So you'll notice this week we closed just below the lows back in March. Yeah, back in March, right? On volume, and we knew it was headed lower. Now it took a couple of weeks for that to play out, but then boom. So we weren't in the market. Same thing will happen here, right? So whenever we get, and by the way, when I say the lows and talk about it rolling over, I mean, in terms of context, this was not a big deal, right? I mean, it's almost laughable that this was just a little blip this year because we've had a great 2025, right? So that's not going to happen. And when it does happen, it inevitably will happen because it has, right, through time. It did it here, it did it here, it did it here, it did it here. It was a big one here. This is a great financial crisis here, right? I mean, so it does happen. But when it happens, the great financial crisis actually is where we learned this, by the way. We're out there. And we did the same thing with COVID. We were 100% cash before COVID. I'm not going to take the time to go through the lines here. We were 100% cash going into COVID, and we were 100% in the market going out. And that sounds unbelievable, and it was unbelievable. But once you understand price and volume, that becomes believable, and that's what I'm trying to demonstrate here. We'll know when it's going to happen before it happens. That's not predicting the market. That's just seeing what price and volume is going to do. So right now you want to stick with the winners. Look at Apple. Apple continues to take off. We took it off today because we're getting close to our 260 price target. Once it breaks 260 on volume, the next projected price target is 305, right? That's going to take the market higher. And Amazon is queuing up to go. Once this busts out, right, and we're waiting for it, it will take the market higher. 323 is where that wants to go once it breaks that out. Another heavyweight that's just churning at the top, just waiting to break out, is Meta, right? Once Meta breaks out right here on volume, this wants 1,038, right? And so those are the heavy hitters that are leading the market. And NVIDIA today had news. Who cares about the news? But this is pushing on volume. We're looking at a weekly chart, so it doesn't look like a lot down here, right? But we had 268 million shares traded hands today. This is a confirmed price target, confirmed breakout, right? Because we're pushing this on volume. And I could get on the daily and make the point, but that'll make this video too long. Projected price target for NVIDIA now is 224. So these heavy hitters of Apple, Amazon, Meta, NVIDIA are going to take this market higher. Not to mention Oracle, right? Not to mention financials like Bank of America, projected price target is 67. Not to mention Goldman Sachs, projected price target 838. So all these heavy hitters are going to take this market higher. And we'll know when a correction comes or when a dip happens, a significant dip happens, because price and volume will tell us. Okay? So I hope that helps. Have a great evening and trade them well.